Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, Kelly and Mark Official, and new video. I hope everyone is well and having a nice day. Before we begin the video, please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. The decision was decided far more quickly than anyone had anticipated it would be. There was a time when everything in our New York City home, which cost $27 million, appeared to be normal. When Mark and I were standing in our living room looking at each other, we suddenly became aware of the fact that, for the first time in years, staying there did not appear to be the most secure option. To begin, I would like to make it perfectly clear. It wasn't a big thing, and it wasn't a forever goodbye either. Since we were children, we have called New York City our home. Our jobs, our families, and some of our most treasured memories all originated from this place. It is where we made our jobs. On the other hand, there are times when the regions that appear to be the safest could suddenly disappear. And when this occurs, you need to make decisions as quickly as possible. We had no intention of leaving our house for a short period of time. A few weeks ago, if you had asked me, I would have answered that we were exactly where we wanted to be. I would have stated that we were succeeding. On the other hand, life has a way of bringing to your attention the fact that things can change quickly, even if they seem mundane and comfortable. I came to that realization with Mark because we were concerned about our own safety, and the timing was perfect for us to come to that conclusion. It has always appeared to me that New York City is a place that is brimming with vitality and power. For the most of our lives, we took pleasure in the fact that it was a city that never slept. Having the knowledge that you are not alone and that life is all around you is a pleasant experience. On the other hand, over the course of the previous several weeks, we have begun to observe tiny adjustments occurring all around us. The beginning was a rather quiet time, just a few little adjustments that caused us to pause and reflect. Both our safety and our privacy have always been important to us. We are public personalities, and as a result, people pay attention to us. We have acquired the skills necessary to deal with this attention over the course of our careers. It is nonetheless possible that this attention is excessive at times. Recently, there were a few events that occurred that prompted us to consider the level of safety that we were in and whether or not it would be beneficial for our family to remain in the location that we were in. During the late hours of the night, after a challenging day, I remember sitting with Mark. Both of us were quite exhausted, yet neither of us wanted to go to sleep without first having a conversation about the situation. A variety of little issues and concerns had been accumulating over time, and they had been growing in number. Although none of them were particularly frightening on their own, the combination of them made us feel apprehensive. Mark is the one that retains his composure most of the time. In most cases, he gives things careful consideration and takes his time. But he even admitted that he was experiencing some unease that evening. The things that he said stayed with me. He responded by saying, "If we're even wondering if this is the safest place for us right now, maybe it's time to take a step back and think." It was at that point that there was no turning back. We were careful not to overreact, but at the same time, we did not want to choose to disregard our instincts. You develop a deep attachment to a place after you have lived there for a considerable amount of time. When you leave, even if it's only for a short period of time, it feels as like you are leaving a piece of yourself behind to go somewhere else. On the other hand, safety must come first. In addition, the time had a significant role in our decision. In addition to the fact that we were already adjusting our schedules, there was a brief period of time during which relocating temporarily would not completely disrupt our job or family routines. There are moments when the universe gives you the opportunity to change, and you have the choice to either accept it or not. In the end, we chose to go ahead and take it. The most surprising thing that occurred to us was how swiftly everything took place after we had made up our minds. Within a few days, we were making preparations to leave the house that we had loved for such a long time, during which time we were also arranging things and discussing practicalities. It felt like a dream realized in real life. On the one hand, we were discussing it as if it were happening. And on the other hand, we were packing up our belongings. I won't tell you that it was simple, I lied. As I walked through our home and made decisions about what to take and what to leave behind, I experienced a wide range of emotions. Every room contains recollections of the past. Celebrations, evenings of peace and quiet, and time spent with our children when they were smaller are all examples of times that we enjoy. The flat in question is more than just a piece of property. There is a timeline of our lives here. Mark, as is his custom, made an effort to keep things light. I was reminded once more that this was not a move that would be permanent, and he joked that this was the quickest we had ever packed for anything. He continued saying things like, "We're not going to leave New York. We're just taking a break for a minute." This made everything a lot better. My perspective on the matter shifted, and as a result, it no longer appeared to be as conclusive as it had been before. On the other hand, there was still a profound sense of surprise. People who we know and with whom we work were taken aback when they learned that we were going to leave for a short period of time. A significant number of them believed that after living in the city for such a long time, we would never leave it. And to tell you the truth, I was of the same opinion for a considerable amount of time. Due to the fact that New York has been such a consistent presence in our lives, it seemed strange to consider being anywhere else, even for a brief period of time. Sometimes, however, you are forced to make decisions that do not conform to the narrative that people want to hear. Safety is something that cannot be compromised, and having peace of mind is invaluable. You have a responsibility to yourself and your family to take action if you believe that even a little amount of danger is associated with such items. On the morning that we left, there was a calm atmosphere. There was neither a significant announcement nor an emotional farewell. Both of us were leading our lives with a heightened awareness of what we were doing as we went about our everyday activities. Just before we left, I took a little pause and took one last glance around the area. It wasn't because I was afraid that we wouldn't return. Rather, it was because I wanted to save the moment in my memory. After giving me a gentle squeeze, Mark smiled. That one simple action was enough to tell the whole story. It got me thinking about how home is more than simply a physical location. The people with whom you share it are the best. The sensation of being at home is something that we bring with us wherever we go, so long as we are together. Since we left the flat, we have had some time to reflect on the decision that we have made. There are several ways in which it has altered the way that we perceive things. As a result of being away from home, we have had the opportunity to take things more slowly and reflect on the things that truly matter. It has also opened our eyes to the extent to which we like New York City and the many things that it has done for us. I am not acting in this manner because I am afraid or because I want to flee. In order to succeed, you need to take action and make intelligent choices. Living a life that is constantly in the spotlight presents its own unique challenges. And there are times when you are required to make adjustments that other people might not fully understand. We are now aware that we do not have to provide an explanation or a justification for every decision that we make to the rest of the world. What is essential is that we have a sense of security and consistency. In the meanwhile, we have been able to accomplish this by removing ourselves from our residence in New York. It is common knowledge that this is not an end of the story. Let's take a short break, a brief moment to regain our bearings, reflect on the things that are most important, and make certain that we will be in a better attitude when we return. I have been talking to people on a daily basis for many years, sharing aspects of my life with them and establishing a genuine connection with them. At this point, the situation is the same. It is merely another reminder that we are still a family that makes decisions one at a time, despite the fact that the media and public images give the impression that we are not. Despite everything that New York has done for us, Mark and I continue to feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Both as individuals and as professionals, we have been altered by the city. The fact that you depart, even for a brief period of time, does not affect that. At the very least, it has increased our sense of gratitude for the life that we have constructed there. For the time being, we are only focusing on one thing at a time. Our focus is on maintaining our safety, maintaining our connections, and keeping grounded. Additionally, when the time is right, we will return to the house that has been so significant to us for such a long period of time. With the same fortitude and optimism that New York has always provided for us, we are going to face this unexpected chapter with the same determination. Describe the major snowstorm that hit New York City and the precautions that were taken to protect people from it in a news piece that is 1,500 words long. Then bring up the issue of what caused it. In order to explain why they were forced to relocate temporarily, please explain how the severe blizzard that occurred in New York City made things risky and created a lot of difficulties. Describe how the severe weather affected individuals, not only in the city's famous people, but also in other parts of the city. It was written by Ripa in such a way that he speaks for himself. The initial indication that something weird was going to happen did not appear to be of great significance. It all began with forecasts of the kind that New Yorkers are accustomed to seeing every winter. It is possible that snow will fall. There has been a decrease in temperature. It is important for people who commute to establish preparations out in advance. Those warnings are little more than background noise for the majority of us who have lived in New York for a significant amount of time. There has been snow in the past. This is not the first time that we have trekked through slush, wind, and extreme cold. This time, however, it was immediately apparent that this was not merely another winter storm, but rather something more. We both paid attention when the weather alerts began using adjectives such as major and historic in their descriptions. In spite of the fact that you have lived in New York for decades, you will still be startled by how rapidly things may spiral out of control. The streets are filled with people and commotion one day, and the next day they are eerily quiet under a layer of white. This changes the atmosphere of the streets. This snowfall did not seemingly materialize out of thin air. The city was taken over by it in a manner that appeared to be both instantaneous and unending. During that morning, I can still vividly recall standing by the window and watch the snow fall at an incrementally quicker rate. In the beginning, it was almost attractive. When snow is falling, New York City takes on the appearance of a scene from a movie. The rooftops appear to have a more gentle appearance. The lighting caused the streets to glow, and for a little moment, everything appears to be quite still. However, such tranquility did not continue for very long. As the hours passed, the snow continued to accumulate even more, and the reality of the situation started to become more apparent. It was reported that roads were closed, that public transport was delayed, and that emergency alerts were issued. The metropolis, that is often moving at a breakneck pace, came to a complete and total halt. Large amounts of time were wasted on the tube. The cancellation of hundreds of flights was implemented. It was virtually impossible to recognize the streets, which are often crowded with bustling people and taxis that honk their horns. It was not just that the snow was piling up, it was an excessive amount. We began to receive information from friends and neighbors located in various parts of the city. Some individuals were unable to safely leave their apartments because they were trapped inside. There were some individuals who were dealing with warnings from building management, as well as power disruptions. It was advised by emergency services that individuals should remain inside unless they had an absolute necessity to go outside. As time went on, it became abundantly evident that this storm was more than just that. It was dangerous. Living in New York requires you to acquire the ability to swiftly adjust to new circumstances, but there are occasions when you need more than just patience to do so. Concerning safety, it requires choices that are relevant. As the blizzard continued to worsen, we began discussing topics that seemed to bear a greater significance than anything else that we had discussed over the course of the previous few months. As the snow continued to accumulate at a faster rate than anticipated, concerns were expressed over the ability to move around, travel to other locations, and safety in general. I verified the information that we had already seen by speaking with individuals who worked in the building, as well as people I knew who lived in the neighborhood. It was difficult for emergency vehicles to reach certain locations due to the snowdrifts that were present. To walk on the ice was a risky endeavor for anyone who attempted it. Not even the most basic of duties can be hazardous. During this period of time, the city was essentially at a complete and utter halt. Throughout those hours, the thing that jumped out to me the most was the extent to which the problem was prevalent. The occurrence of this was not something that was limited to a single neighborhood or set of people. Everything was being impacted by it. Families with young children were attempting to maintain a quiet and comfortable environment indoors. Workers who were essential to the operation were forced to endure hazardous commutes. In order to receive assistance, elderly folks were relying on their neighbors. It made no difference to the hurricane who it struck. Every single part of the city was affected by it. As things continued to deteriorate, Mark and I began to contemplate what it would be like to remain in the same location. Since the beginning, we have held the belief that being prepared is preferable to responding. As the weather forecast predicted that the storm would continue to worsen with greater gusts and more snow, the conversation shifted from merely observing to actively participating in the event. When the hurricane was at its worst, we had to make a decision about whether or not it would be better to remain at our house in New York. The decision felt even more pressing than it already did because of the timing. The worst of the storm was expected to hit tonight, according to the weather predictions, which could cause vast portions of the city to be unable to move for an extended period of time. There was a possibility that travel alternatives would be restricted, and there was also a possibility that services might be disrupted. Everyone finds it challenging to deal with that kind of uncertainty, but when you have the opportunity to temporarily relocate to a more secure location, it becomes a significant issue. I can very vividly recall sitting down with Mark and discussing the more recent developments. We were not completely out of our minds, but we were being truthful. In spite of the fact that the weather outside was rapidly deteriorating, the forecasts indicated that it would only grow worse before it began to improve. If you choose to remain in your current location, you run the risk of being unable to get assistance or transportation in the event that something unforeseen occurs. Leaving, on the other hand, provided us with the opportunity to avoid the brunt of the storm and to be safe. The issue at hand was not one of luxury or comfort. Being of service was the focus here. At the same time, thousands of people all around the city were making choices that were very similar to one another. A number of people were moving in with members of their families who resided in regions that were not as severely hit. A number of individuals were preparing themselves to remain inside for several days by storing up on supplies. Adjustments were being made by everyone in accordance with their particular circumstances. We found that moving temporarily was the most logical choice for us. During the time that we were getting ready to leave, I couldn't help but reflect on how drastically different the city appeared from only a few days prior. There was a lot of unoccupied space on the streets that were normally very busy. Despite the fact that snowplows were constantly in operation, the snow seemed to be falling at a rate that was faster than they could keep up with. The customary routine of life in New York was replaced by an odd silence that pervaded the city. It served as a reminder of how powerful nature can be, even in a city that is capable of managing a lot of things. The process of driving out of the city was a slow and cautious one. I had to pay great attention at every bend because it was difficult to see what was going on. While Mark maintained his composure and concentration, he did mention that the circumstances were among the most difficult he had encountered in recent years. On the way with us were a few other persons as well. All of those who were traveling through the storm had a sense of determination as a result of the fact that others were also moving to safer places. When we arrived at a location that was more stable, the difference became immediately apparent. The atmosphere appeared to be more tranquil. There was less congestion on the roads. At long last, we were able to take a deep breath and relax without the continual worry that comes with witnessing a terrible weather event unfold around us. There was no indication that we were going to leave the city. Our perception was that we were allowing ourselves the opportunity to ride out the storm in a responsible manner. From our temporary residence, we were able to stay informed about the latest news regarding the blizzard's impact on New York. It was reported that each and every borough was experiencing a great deal of difficulty. There was a restricted timetable for the operation of public transport. It was a day when neither schools nor businesses were open. In order to assist individuals and clean the streets, emergency workers worked nonstop throughout the day and night. The city seemed to be behaving in the same manner that it always does whenever anything goes wrong. It was undergoing transformation and progressing. I received texts from friends in which they shared with me what they were going through. A number of individuals expressed their astonishment at the fact that neighborhoods that are often bustling with activity were so quiet. People from other places shared photographs of streets that were completely covered in snow and seemed like they were from another universe. This storm was significant in some way, and everyone was aware of that fact. This was not merely another winter problem, rather it was a genuine occurrence that required cooperation and caution. The thing that had the greatest impact on me was the way in which the community rallied together despite the fact that things were going wrong. The residents in the community made sure to check on one another. Everyone in the building was kept secure by the staff who worked very hard. The city authorities frequently spoke with one another in order to provide guidance and solace. Even though there was a significant snowstorm, the spirit of New York City remained unshakable. One of the reasons that Mark and I have always loved living there is because of the strength that it possesses. Because we wanted to get away from that spirit, we did not move temporarily. Being truthful about what was going on was the most important thing. Everyone is susceptible to experiencing severe weather, regardless of where they live or what they do for a living. When the situation becomes severe enough to affect an entire city, the most effective course of action is typically to prioritize safety and flexibility whenever possible. During the time that the storm was gradually beginning to abate, messages informed people that recovery activities were continuing. The guys who were responsible for clearing the snow made consistent progress. The transport services started up again in a gradual manner. All of a sudden, the city started to return to its typical rhythm. Having the opportunity to see the process from a distance, we were reminded of how quickly New York can recover after experiencing a significant failure. After giving it some thought, I am certain that the decision to go away for a bit was the best one to make. Until the city was able to get back on its feet, it prevented us from taking risks that were exorbitant. Another thing that we learned from it was that things may change very rapidly, especially in a place that we are familiar with. In order to be successful, it is essential to be flexible and open to new experiences. There was more to this blizzard than just famous people moving around for a little period of time here and there. The narrative focused on a city that came together to deal with extremely severe weather conditions. Everyone, from everyday folks to those who work in emergency responses, did what they could to keep people safe and assist them in recovering from their injuries. Mark and I were but two of the many components that comprise that larger picture. Just as we are getting set to return to our home in New York, we are filled with gratitude. We are grateful for the resilience of the city, the efforts of those who kept it operational throughout the storm, and the ability to make decisions that prioritize safety more than anything else. In spite of the fact that it has been through a lot of challenging times, New York has always emerged stronger. As with the others, this storm was exactly the same. People's habits were disrupted, their patience was tested, and everyone was forced to give great consideration to the decisions they ultimately made. In addition to that, it demonstrated how powerful and unified the city is. In addition, as someone who has spent a significant amount of time in New York, I am able to assert with complete certainty that circumstances of this nature only serve to strengthen the connection between the two of us. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe to our Kelly and Mark Official YouTube channel for more updated